Thank you, David. It's a spectacular November afternoon in southern Ontario, 2 weeks away from the 100th Grey Cup in Toronto. And today, the 2012 postseason kicks off. East meets West at a playoff crossroads. It's the Eskimos and the Argos colliding in the Eastern semifinal.
And you couldn't have written a better script as Ricky Ray, the former franchise player in Edmonton, traded in December, now a Toronto Argonaut, faces his old team. He is 8-4 in the postseason, including 2 Grey Cup championships, his first playoff game as a Toronto Argonaut. And on the other sideline, it was a decision that was made on Thursday that it will be the veteran Kerry Joseph that will start for the Edmonton Eskimos. He is 4-1 in the playoffs. His last playoff action back in 2007 when he led the Saskatchewan Roughriders to a Grey Cup championship.
Gamos Reed's Green and Gold won both regular season games, 19-15, June 29th at Commonwealth, 26-17 here on August the 27th. But since then, the Eskimos 2-8. While on the other sideline, Scott Milanovich has nailed down a playoff berth and a contract extension in his first season as the head coach, and he's now looking for the Argos' first playoff home victory in 6 years. Talked about not being content with making the playoffs and having an eye on Montreal and a berth in the Eastern final next week.
Well, the first thing they have to do is figure out this Edmonton Eskimo football team. 0-2 against them in the regular season. Hugh Charles, who was questionable all the way up to game time, will go and split reps as a tailback for the Edmonton Eskimos with former Argo Corey Boyd.
Swayze Waters has it on the tee. This Eastern semi underway from Rogers Center, and it will be Weldon Brown starting inside his 10-yard line, and Brown trying to string it up, and he gets tripped up. That's Xander Robinson with a special teams tackle, limiting the return to just 12.
So it's Kerry Joseph, the starter for the Edmonton Eskimos at quarterback. We will likely see a little Matt Nichols in this game, and there's Joseph, first playoff start since 2007. His #1 target, you heard the panel talk about it in the pregame, will be Fred Stamps, finished second in the CFL in receiving. And Hugh Charles will split reps in the backfield with Corey Boyd.
Starters to watch, brought to you by Rona, proud partner of the CFL and its 8 teams. They start double tight ends, fake to Charles. Joseph flush from the pocket, and he'll have to take off with it, and takes a big hit across the 25-yard line. You mentioned it in our pregame hit. We expect to see Joseph take off a number of times today.
Let's take a look at this defense for the Toronto Argonauts, led up front by Armand Armstead. 6 quarterback sacks to lead the Toronto Argonauts up there. Former military man, U.S. Army veteran Robert McCune plays in the middle, led the Argos in tackles with 85, and Pat Watkins was in coverage on that last play where Kerry Joseph wanted to go deep up corner.
An 8-yard run for Joseph, 2nd and 2, again double tight ends. Hugh Charles, the ball carrier, and he's hit hard around the 29-yard line, close to the first down.
See a little of that playoff intensity out of the get-go in this game. I mean, starting from the opening kickoff, a big tackle downfield. There's Robert McCune stepping up, stopping the run. I think going to be very close to first down territory for Edmonton, but they're popping the pads right now. Not surprising.
Requires a measurement. The chains come out. Pretty good gauge on how the Eskimos will do today might come in this first series. And Larry Clark says it's going to be 3rd down, 3rd and a chain link or 2. But the Eskimos without an opening drive touchdown all season long. So if they could get some momentum with a first drive score here, it would be a big confidence boost.
Well, on that very first play, Kerry Joseph tried to take a deep shot. He wanted Kerry Coke, and he was going one-on-one on Pat Watkins. Didn't like it, so he took off and ran with it.
And Matt Nichols in on the short yardage, and his plunge over the top of center Kyle Koch, and right guard Greg Voigt should provide the first down. It was interesting to hear Kavis Reed. He almost winced when we asked about Matt Nichols yesterday. He was so good in the final regular season game that the coach said, yes, he did make that decision very difficult, but went with the experience of Kerry Joseph to start here today.
Well, think about that game against Montreal in 9 minutes, 230 yards passing for Matt Nichols, but it is Joseph.
Charles, Todd Watkins steps up. Adriano Belli with a hit, and Hugh Charles down at the 35-yard line.
It was a tough decision for Kavis Reed, but when you consider the winning percentages of the quarterbacks in the playoffs at this point, those are the 6, and those are their winning percentages. And Kerry Joseph at 4-1 back to his 07 run with the Riders has got the best winning percentage, albeit not as many games as Ray or Anthony Calvillo. But that's one of the reasons he's in there right now.
Speaking of percentages, the flip side, just 37% completion in his last 2 starts, Kerry Joseph. Shotgun snap pulled down. He's got a little time. Underneath it goes, and there's Markham product Shamon Chambers with the catch across the 40-yard line. It's another Eskimo first down.
But this is that experience right here in a playoff game where all these players are trying to get rid of the butterflies early on. This snap outside and high on Kerry Joseph, but he stays calm, cool, collected in that pocket, tips it down to himself, and throws a strike along the sideline. That's why the experience pays off early here already for Edmonton.
Koch and Henry in motion. 1st and 10. Back inside is Hugh Charles, and a stunner step and lunge up near the 50-yard line. 9 more for Hugh Charles, who missed the last 2 games, injured a knee in October in a game against the BC Lions.
Clearly their leading rusher all season long, and it's not just when he's running the football. He's great out of the backfield, catching it as well. So a double threat against this Toronto Argonaut defense that will give Kerry Joseph all kinds of different looks.
Heavy 6, 2.
Calvin McCarty checks in. 2nd and 1. And now Henry waggles in motion. A handoff back to Charles. Got the first down. And one more. And a foot race here. Hugh Charles dashing down inside the 15 before he's pushed out by the safety, Jordan Younger.
Playoff games often come down to the play in the trenches. The Edmonton Eskimos go with double tight end Matthew Bertrand on one side, and on the other side it's Calvin McCarty, and it's McCarty who's going to get the seal block as he gives a little crease to Hugh Charles, and he just needs that to make the big play. Hugh Charles gets the first big play of this playoff game.
47-yard run, his longest of the season.
His speed is there. The injury behind him clearly.
Corey Boyd checks in. They continue to go double tight ends. And now Boyd will pound it. Drives down to the 11-yard line. Corey Boyd, who had 8 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown last week against Calgary. And Kavis Reed said that gave him a ticket into this game.
Well, it was his best game of the season as an Edmonton Eskimo. Of course, started the season as a Toronto Argonaut. In fact, the first time these 2 teams met each other was the first game of the regular season. Boyd was wearing the other jersey.
So 3 for Boyd, 2nd and 7. Remember, the Eskimos without a first drive touchdown all season long. Joseph whips the end zone. Got it. Touchdown. Well, there's the start. The Eskimos scripted.
That's the first drive, baby. That's the first drive, baby. That's what you do, baby.
First drive touchdown. You mentioned it, Chris, and this time a little subtle difference. The tight end that we talked about was Kerry Koch, a receiver, not fullback Matthew Bertrand. Subtle difference makes a big difference on that touchdown throw. The receiver out there on the sideline.
Koch's been on fire of late. 7 touchdowns in the regular season, 4 in his last 5 games. And again, all scoring plays reviewed.
No question. A catch and a touchdown. Edmonton on the board first.
Impressive opening march. Engineered by Kerry Joseph. 8 plays, 91 yards.
Hit my elbow again.
Grant Shaw puts it through, and the Eskimos have the early lead. Great start for the visitors and a touchdown for Kerry Cook.
91 today. 91. That's for you, JJ.
And now Chad Owens gets his hands on the football. The CFL's most outstanding player in the East in 2012 is driven out by Grant Shaw at the 42-yard line.
Kerry Cook here is going to get the assist from Shamad Chambers, the wide receiver. There's Chambers, and Cook remembers that tight end. Watch Chambers come up the field here and create a pick. That forces Ahmad Carroll to bubble over the top a little bit and gives Kerry Cook just about another yard of separation. So when that ball was placed perfectly on the outside shoulder arrives, Ahmad Carroll cannot get there.
Back at home, you're going to heal up. You're going to be back on the field soon. Trey and Allie.
First touchdown pass by Edmonton against Toronto this season in 40 possessions, and now the Argos will try to answer, but a catch by the former Eskimo, Jason Barnes, from Ricky Ray to get their offense kick-started.
Well, you take the Grey Cup games out, he's 6-3 in playoff action, 8 touchdown passes in the last 2 games for Ricky Ray against 1 interception. Of course, we know the great story that has been Chad Owens all year long. Has the CFL record for combined yards in a single season, and I think a key in this game will be the protection up front for Ricky Ray. As Matt Dunnigan mentioned, they need to keep him clean so that he can stay on this hot streak, and their best offensive lineman has been Chris Van Zyl.
That's short of a first down on their opening play as Murray Clark spots the ball. So Wayne Smith injured in the final regular season game. The veteran suffering a torn tricep. So Andrew Jones, the McMaster product, in that spot. We'll also see Joe Appel in all likelihood today on that Argo offensive line that will be under the gun. A lot of talk about how good the defensive tackles are for the Edmonton Eskimos. A concern today for Toronto. Jarius Jackson in short yardage, and he drops the football, and who's got it? Argos get it back, but they're going to be forced to punt. Chad Cackert saves it for the Argos, but a misfire on the short yardage team.
Well, it starts with penetration from the Edmonton Eskimos. They're going to get a good jump on the snap, and it's Mondo Sewell who gets first contact inside. You talked about that's the challenge for this offensive line. It certainly is. Ted Laurent and Sewell in the middle have been tough to stop, dominant all year.
There's Joe Burnett back, a line drive boot by Prefontaine, and on a hop, Burnett gets inside and then gets bounced out around the 35-yard line. A 42-yard punt, 14 on the return. Take you in that huddle that produced an opening drive 91-yard touchdown. Seven
rushing plays and 2 passing plays to start things out. They want to attack this defense along the ground early.
Number 35 out of the shotgun, and Kerry Joseph's going to look deep. Going to look for Shamad Chambers, and well covered on the play. Eastern All-Star corner, Patrick Watkins in his hip pocket. Well, we talked to Kavis Reed yesterday about the deciding factor in going with Kerry Joseph over Matt Nichols.
Experience and the fact that Kerry played well against this defense, and in August, Chris does an absolutely phenomenal job with his defense. A lot of movement, a lot of different looks. And we felt that the veteran quarterback that had already played against this defense gave us the best opportunity to have a good start, which we need.
2nd and 10 for Joseph. Hunt steps up, and he'll take off. Brandon Isaac in pursuit, and pulls him down, and will get the horse collar. And Joseph a little shaken up on that tackle by Brandon Isaac, suspended last week for a hit on Buck Pierce.
We talked out of the gate about his running ability, and in his last playoff series.
Horse collar tackle. Corner number 45. 15 yards at the end of the play. First down.
That he knows the importance of getting out there. 2 games over 100 yards rushing back in 2007, run to the Grey Cup, and he's going to take off. It breaks down. Wanted to go backside, but the Toronto Argonauts had dropped Ronald Flemings, and there is the horse collar. It can be from the jersey. It doesn't have to be a grab on the shoulder pads, and that's definitely a horse collar tackle.
So the Eskimos are now into Argo territory, a first down at the Toronto 52-yard line. Draw play, Charles slowed up, and just a couple on that carry for Hugh Charles.
Chris Schultz talked about it in the pregame show that this Toronto team has had some issues with penalties. Brandon Isaac, you mentioned, was suspended the final week of the regular season. Takes that horse collar, which gives the Edmonton Eskimos a new settle downs. They had more penalty yards than any team in the Canadian Football League. It's been a concern all year for Scott Milinovic.
Just under 100 yards per game. Charles with 2. He's already got 63 in his opening quarter. His season best against Edmonton was 67. Second and 8. Here comes pressure. Joseph gets it away, and this one is blocked by Jordan Younger, who had a shot at the interception, had one against Edmonton this year.
Well, it was as good as a punt for the Edmonton Eskimos in one regard, because it was as deep as you can go. Again, this is about the 3rd time already in this game that the Edmonton offense has looked for the big home run strike down the field. A couple of times to Kerry Cope, one time to Shamad Chambers. That one should have been intercepted, but Edmonton will punt the football to about the same spot.
Grant shot a kick. Chad Owens is back. Shaw trying to angle it, but it's a line drive kick, and Owens taken down inside the 5-yard line. Terrific cover by Donovan Alexander. In the 2 losses against Edmonton this year, the Argos never led, and they're playing catch up early here, down by a touchdown and starting deep in their own territory for their second possession.
6, 3, and 3.
Pitch to the left side. Chapman tries to turn the corner and gets pushed out by a former Argo, Damaso Munoz.
Edmonton Eskimos are in the playoffs because of their play of the front 7, and it's led up there by Ted Laurent in the middle. In our conversations with the Argos offensive linemen yesterday, they talked about how dominant they've been in there, so that's why we've highlighted Ted Laurent, one of those interior defensive linemen. We talked about J.C. Sherritt, last-second scratch, the leading tackler in the Canadian Football League, record holder with 130. Simone Lawrence will replace him, and the leader in the Canadian Football League in interceptions is Joe Burnett.
2nd and 4, the long out in a dangerous spot, incomplete. Joe Burnett, who led the league in interceptions, had a beat on that ball.
He did, and Mike Brad will be reminded from his quarterback Ricky Ray to come back to the football on plays to the wide field like this. The ball takes a little bit longer to get out there. He can't sit on it. He's got to keep coming back, or Joe Burnett, who's taken 6 back this year, 6 interceptions, would have stolen.
Argos without a point in the opening quarter against Edmonton in the 2 regular season games. 2 and out for a second consecutive time here. Do they concede 2? No. Prefontaine will boot it away. Good kick. Driving Burnett back to his 48-yard line, but he finds a crease. Joe Burnett with a flag down. And this will negate a terrific return in all likelihood. And Burnett finally dropped inside the 15-yard line. 47-yard boot by Prefontaine. 46 on the return, but a penalty marker on the field around the 35-yard line.
Couple of penalty flags down. One right where Joe Burnett caught it.
Return, illegal block. Edmonton number 79. Holding Edmonton. By rule, only 1 foul can be applied. 10-yard penalty. First down.
So Sean Lemon called, and that will bring it all the way back into Edmonton territory. As mentioned earlier today, the breaking news, J.C. Sherritt, the CFL tackle record holder, out of the lineup with more. Here's Sarah Orlesky.
Well, Chris, as you and Glenn mentioned, I mean, this is a big blow for this Eskimos defense. It sounded after their walkthrough yesterday when J.C. Sherritt spoke to the media that he would be playing, but it was revealed this morning that no, he would not. Kavis Reed said that Sherritt needed to be at 70%. He was not. Pain was a huge issue, and they did not feel confident that he would be able to make it through the entire half. He aggravated an ongoing right ankle injury during last week's final regular season game. It was an ankle injury that he originally suffered in the Labor Day rematch against Calgary. They are optimistic, though, that should they get to the East Final, that Sherritt will be available.
So the outstanding defensive player finalist out of the West does not have his gear on for this game this afternoon.
Interesting, he missed the Western Semi last year, came back for the final and hoping his teammates can give him that opportunity again in 2012. Right now it's the offense on the field, and Corey Boyd, the former Argo, pounding it across the 45 and falling forward for about 7.
And it is quite a loss when you think back to when he did it, and it was just after he had set the CFL record with his 130th tackle of the season. And he gets rolled on a little bit on that right ankle, did not play another snap. And question mark, as Sarah mentioned, all the way up to about an hour before kickoff. So it's Simone Lawrence that will start in the middle.
7 for Boyd, 2nd and 3. They're going to swing it out. Kerry Coke was in the backfield, but this play doesn't get off, and a time count violation.
Edmonton number 5. 5-yard penalty. Remains 7 down.
So a penalty on the return and now a time count, and the Eskimos make a couple of mistakes in the last minute.
They started out of the game out of the gate with such great momentum. That opening drive ends in a major, and the first adversity now faced for the Edmonton Eskimos in this 2nd and long.
Incomplete. Joseph did well just to get it away.
Well, let's start there, because it was amazing that Kerry Joseph was even able to get that football out of there and give his receiver a chance at first down. It was Marcus Ball at the hit at the other end, but let's just take a look at one of the reasons that Kavis Reed made the decision to go with Kerry Joseph, because he can create with his legs. Should have been sacked right there in the backfield. A couple of guys had a shot at him. He jumps over his own offensive lineman, finally pulled down, but he got the ball out of there.
Big push from Armand Armstead, the all-star defensive tackle for Toronto. Big boot by Shaw. Here's Owens back at his 15. Big return. And just tripped up. Clutch tackle made there by Justin Capicotti out of SFU, limiting the damage to just over 20 yards on the return.
Edmonton Eskimos took all year for Ricky Ray to completely understand this Scott Milenovich offense, which has all kinds of moving parts. But has he been hot of late? Last 5 games, over 300 yards passing. That's touchdowns as a team. He has 8 and just 1 interception in his last 2 starts. First time in his career in back-to-back games he's thrown for 4 touchdowns.
Just 4 offensive plays for the Argos, 11 yards so far. Look out, the out, and Cather's going to get tossed down in a hurry, and there's Joe Burnett on the corner. He's been active early, a Western All-Star in his first CFL season.
He has been, and they've been testing Joe Burnett a little bit. A couple of wide throws that he's been very close to, and I thought he was going to try and shoot this one as well. Led the league in interceptions, as we mentioned, but also led his team in knockdowns.
Give Cacker 3 to the 40. 2nd and 7. Way over the middle. Watch it. Burns. He bounces. Couldn't have tighter coverage from Chris Thompson, but Jason Barnes has his second catch and an Argo first down at midfield.
Jeff Keeping's going to have his hands full. He's the center, and he's on Ted Laurent and has to give Ricky Ray time to complete a dig route across the middle that takes a little bit of time to get there right here. But a good protection up front. Jeff Keeping does his job, keeps Laurent out of the face of Ricky Ray so he can throw it right where he has to.
15 to Barnes and a first down. Now they swing it out to Owens. Needs a block. Sheds a tackle. And will get pushed back. Forward progress around the 51-yard line for Chad Owens.
He may be setting something up on Joe Burnett. Joe Burnett, of course, playing in his first playoff game in the Canadian Football League. That's the fourth play that they've gone wide, and they haven't had all that many offensive plays, the Argos, and tried to test in the flat. Joe Burnett may be setting up a double move where they pump it out there and try and get in behind the guy playing in his first playoff game in the CFL.
4 for Owens, who led the CFL in receiving in 2012. Second down, Ray fires it. And the pass incomplete. And the drive will stall at midfield, intended for Dontrell Inman, who had a big game last week to confirm his ticket into the starting lineup for this playoff game.
Missed 3 games due to injury. But Dontrell Inman, guess who he's working on the outside? It was Joe Burnett again, and clearly in the game plan for the Argos, this has been a focus for them. That one just a little to the outside shoulder, and Dontrell Inman couldn't hang on.
Fontaine looks for the corner. And this one will bounce out at the 19-yard line. 31 seconds left first quarter. Of course, the start of a big doubleheader will head to McMahon Stadium for the Stampeders and the Rough Riders in the Western semifinal coming up immediately following this game. And on that field yesterday, the Hardy Cup won by the Calgary Dinos. Big day of college football. McMaster winning.
Let's go.
Acadia triumphant. Laval. And our congratulations go out to the Saskatoon Hilltops, the Canadian Bowl champions for the 3rd straight year, beating Langley. Boyd running hard. Boyd up to the 29-yard line. Good first down production on the ground for the Eskimos in this first quarter.
Just noticed on Kerry Joseph's right hand, he's got more tape. He's had that pinky finger taped up for a few weeks now. In fact, about mid-seasons when he injured that, he was shaking that hand after a hit earlier in this game. He's got more tape on the passing hand now. See if it affects his throws.
Eskimos have done a good job of establishing the run in this first quarter. And Boyd drives the football. Argos have got it. Final play, first quarter, is the biggest for the Argos. Ronald Flemons, the veteran defensive end, comes up with it as Corey Boyd coughs it up. Well, the momentum with the Eskimos until this. Big turnover, and the Argos have the football.
Interesting stat line to start this game in the first quarter. Edmonton Eskimos establishing the run. They got 47 yards off the short yardage run from Hugh Charles of their total, just shy of 100. But I think the one thing that first quarter showed us for Edmonton is that a couple of the reasons that Kavis Reed went with Kerry Joseph. One, his mobility to avoid the rush and use his legs, and other, his veteran comp.
A reminder, though, how important turnovers are in any football game, particularly the postseason. All Eskimos first quarter. Argos get the ball on the final play, and now they have a chance to get right back in it. Ronald Flemons with the fumble recovery. And let's see what the Argos can do with this opportunity, starting at the Edmonton 27-yard line. They can't find anybody initially, and now on a roll. And he'll drop at the 25 after 2 yards.
Chad Owens just one catch in the first quarter on that little hitch play. And so they're going to want to try and get the football to the leading receiver in the Canadian Football League, and Chad Owens a little bit more as this game goes on. That last play, they lined Andre Dury up as a wide receiver, so different formations, different looks for this Edmonton defense, and they defended it well on first down.
And Dury hot at the end of the year along with Ricky Ray. 3 touchdowns in his last 4 games. 2nd and 8, and a completion to Owens, pulled down close to the first down. A good, sure tackle by Rod Williams.
Really was, because it'll force a tough decision here, I believe, for Scott Milenovich. And good protection for Ricky Ray to be able to step up. If the interior, if this pocket is compromised in the middle, it forces the quarterback to retreat, and he doesn't have those passing lanes, but he does here. Now this tackle in the open field is making it an interesting decision for Scott Milenovich. He's inside of a yard.
Well, it's inches away, but last time they had a short yardage situation, Jarius Jackson fumbled the ball, and they ended up taking a big loss.
You see Jarius Jackson taking command. They're getting his offensive line in there, so don't make a second mistake like that.
'59-64 eligible.
Jumbo team on. Jeff keeping the center. And a lunge by Jackson, and flags fly. Usually, that means the defensive line lined up within the 1-yard restraining area.
And I think this was an alignment issue for the Edmonton Eskimos. They were into that neutral zone.
Offside. Edmonton number 9. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Big Armando Sewell, the defensive tackle.
That is his head and hands inside that 1-yard neutral zone. New set of downs for Toronto on the doorstep.
J.C. Sherritt told us yesterday that man, in his estimation, the strongest guy in the league. Now Armando Sewell, Argos with a first down. Ray has time, looking in the end zone. Owens had fallen, and that ball has been intercepted. Joe Burnett comes up with it. And so the Eskimos get it back by a turnover.
Communication issue, and Chad Owens is going to fall down to the left of your screen. Now, did Joe Burnett make this catch and keep it off the turf? I believe he did. From that first replay, it looked like he was able to. This will be a closer shot. Did the tip of the football touch the ground?
No doubt that this will be challenged. The flag has come out from the Argos sidelines. And as spectacular an effort as that is, looks like that ball did make contact with the turf.
Boy, it looked good from that first angle, and they've been testing Joe Burnett, and he's been up to the challenge on every single play, including this one. But I think you're right. That tip of the football touched the turf, which would mean it'll be ruled incomplete and overturned.
See that ball kind of turn upwards on contact.
Toronto's challenging the ruling on the field of an intercepted pass. We'll review the play.
Well, what a huge ruling this is, with the Argos threatening to tie it. Ball security so important. These are the 2 leading teams in terms of takeaways this year. Edmonton was number 1, the Argos number 2 in takeaways. They've just shown your freeze up on the scoreboard here, and the Argo fans encouraged that this one is going to be overturned.
Well, take a look at the route here, first of all. And the communication I'm talking about is Chad Owens got to go inside here on this curl, and he never gets there. He slides down trying to fight back to the ball. So the ball thrown in the inside area, that's where Joe Burnett has the best chance at it. Didn't take long.
After review, pass is incomplete.
So a reprieve for Ricky Ray, Scott Milenovich, and the Argos. And the ball will be placed back around the 11-yard line. And the Eskimos defense a little late getting back on the field. They thought that interception was going to stand.
Well, they had 3 picks in 2 games against the Toronto Argonauts. Success there, 4 in their last 3, and you mentioned led the league in takeaways. If you're going to test Joe Burnett, you may pay for it.
One of the reasons the Argos were 0-2 against the Eskimos, they were just 2 for 6 in the red zone against Edmonton. 2nd and 10, and the officials want to reset.
Timeout, Edmonton.
And the Eskimos didn't have the right complement on the field and have to call a timeout.
They only had 11 out there, and they late coming on was Kai Stewart. Mark Nelson, the defensive coordinator, noticed that there was an issue.
And that's directly related, you would think, to J.C. Sherritt not being
Absolutely.
in. Kai Stewart into this defense now with the absence of J.C. Sherritt. There's Mark Nelson.
I'm going to say a special hello to his mother, who's ailing down south, and she's in the hospital and
watching online.
Yeah, our thoughts are with her. And Mark Nelson's got her on his mind.
2nd and 10. Ray stands in over the middle. Touchdown. A little scrum after this celebration. Weldon Brown in the middle of it.
This team's got to keep their emotions in check. Don't take a bad penalty that costs you field position in a game of this magnitude.
So after the fumble recovery, the Argos are able to put it in for the tying score.
Chad Cackard comes from the slot back position. They line Andre Dury again, a different look from Scott Milenovich in this playoff game.
Extra point from Waters. Game is tied here early 2nd quarter on a touchdown pass from Ray to Cackard. The fans saying the same thing after Chad Cackard's touchdown ties this game. So 7 points off the turnover as Waters kicks off. Heated up after the touchdown, and he gets smoked at the 25-yard line.
Now, Jack Cackard had come from the slot back to the backfield along with Andre Dury on the touchdown. So they both end up in the backfield and run what's basically a double screen out of the backfield. Watch as they break the line of scrimmage, hold it there. Now there's 2 choices. One is Cackard here, and one is Andre Dury on this little dump screen. Ricky Ray has the choice of those 2. He dumps it to Chad Cackard, and he gets in the end zone.
Eskimos go back to work on offense, starting at their 25-yard line. Hugh Charles, the ball carrier, and he's going to get dropped for a loss. Patrick Watkins had him tied up, and they'll drop him for a 5-yard loss.
Take a look at a little bit of the pushing and shoving after the Chad Cackard touchdown. Chris Van Zyles right here, he kind of walks past Weldon Brown, and as he's walking by, gives him a little bit of a bump there. He's on his way to go celebrate. Just a little shoulder as he goes by. So Brown didn't like that. Came right back to 54. And Chad Owens got involved. Ricky Ray even got down in there. And good on the officials for just letting the guys get it worked out. No penalties on the play. And move on.
2nd and 15. Pressure. Joseph hit as he got it away. And that pass falls incomplete. There is a flag down on the play.
Well, that's Kevin Huntley getting up. He sees the flag. Looked like that flag came a little bit before the hit on Kerry Joseph.
See if there was contact on a receiver downfield. Marcus Ball having some words for the Eskimos.
Offside. Edmonton number 28. That penalty's declined. Go down.
Tough series for Corey Boyd. First the fumble and an offside, and it's a 2-and-out for Edmonton.
Actually, it was a Jiro Kowali who comes off the edge from the top side of this defensive formation. Again, Chris Jones looked all kinds of movement, and watch the hit that Kerry Joseph takes to his ribs. Those add up.
So grand shot, part of the Ricky Ray trade. We had to fill in mid-season for Burton Dales as the punter gets it away, and Owens on the run. Across midfield. Down inside the 30. Chad Owens still going, and he'll score his first kick return touchdown of 2012. His longest punt return of the season.
This one kick-started because he can catch it moving forward, going downhill as he collects himself underneath that football. Now he's got great momentum, a couple of cuts right at the point of attack, and he is gone.
Munoz missed him around the ankles at about the 20, and Owens, who led the Canadian Football League with a record-breaking all-purpose season, has his biggest special team play of the year. It premieres Thursday on TSN at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, part of the Engraved on the Nation series.
You guys, we're back home to life. Aloha, baby. Let's go.
Outstanding player in the East.
More to come.
Flashing his credentials here.
3 straight years, over 3,000 yards all-purpose for Chad Owens. A CFL record in 2012, passing Pinball Clemens. Don't get any bigger than that play right there.
First lead for the Argonauts against the Eskimos this season. Waters drills it. Longest kickoff average in the league. Backing up Edmonton. And Evan Brown is met across the 20, shy of the 25 again. Walter Spitzer on the tackle.
Chad Owens does a couple of things on this return. One, I mentioned the upfield momentum. That gets him started with great speed, but he's going to get help from 2 players on defense. First of all, Pat Watkins. Nice block on the cutback lane for Chad Owens there. Keep rolling it, because Delroy Clark has a chance to catch him. But coming right here is Ajiro Kowali, who picks him off so that he can't catch him from behind. There's not many that can when Chad Owens gets him behind.
Edmonton starting at the 25. Big heat for Marcus Ball. Pass is complete to Stamps. First catch of the game, but he's dropped right at the line of scrimmage, and Marcus Ball off the edge.
Chad Owens has accounted this year for almost 40% of this team's offense. That doesn't even consider what the work he has done on special teams. He is one of those few players in football that can make that happen from anywhere on the field.
Second and 10. Joseph Time going to take a shot. Looking downfield. He's got Stamps. Then Stamps a catch over Evan McCullough at the Argo 40-yard line.
That has been the matchup, Chris. I've been watching in that first quarter. Evan McCullough covered Fred Stamps 11 of the 15 plays on offense. It was McCullough, number 24, who's covering Stamps. And in this case, he's going to do it again. Stamps finally gets in behind him because he didn't have a catch in the first quarter. This is his second, and a big one to try and slow the Argo momentum after Chad Owens' touchdown.
Scott Milanovich mentioned yesterday Stamps was uncoverable in the second half of the year. And after a slow start, almost won the receiving title. Joseph on a roll, couldn't take off, and will get tossed down. Another horse collar tackle against the Argos.
The first one was no question. If this is a horse collar, you're going to have to take another look at this one.
Foul, unnecessary roughness. Corner number 25. 15 yards at the end of the play. First down.
Not on the horse collar, but unnecessary roughness called on Pat Watkins. Florida State products, not sure why. Let's take a look. Watkins has him there, pulls him down. I'm not sure why that's called at all. That one, very questionable. He's got him by the jersey, pulls him forward. What a season for Pat Watkins out of Florida State.
Sets up the Eskimos inside the Argo 25-yard line. First down. Pressure off the edge. The shot is intercepted. It's picked off. Away goes Marcus Ball. Coming back on Charles. Marcus Henry trying to track him, and he'll bring it down at the 30. But Marcus Ball, the top defensive player for the Argos in 2012, has the pick.
Brandon Isaac is the guy that causes the problem on pressure from the linebacking core. Chris Jones' defense has all kinds of movement. Watch number 28 come off the edge and disrupt the timing for Kerry Joseph. He never can get a clear passing lane, and this is a forward pass that'll be picked off by Marcus Ball.
Had an interception for a touchdown against Winnipeg in the regular season. Marcus Ball, all three linebackers not in the lineup against Hamilton, back in and have been a force here. Tackled for the side step, and he'll get gang tackled after a short gain. So the Argos +2 in that giveaway takeaway, the best team in the regular season in that category.
Chris, the timing on Brandon Isaac's pressure is absolutely perfect, because it's supposed to be play action with Hugh Charles coming underneath, but because of that pressure from Isaac, that shovel pass behind Hugh Charles and right into the hands of Marcus Ball.
2nd and 8, Dury in motion. And Ray steps up, and Ricky Ray puts his head down and to the 20-yard line, just short of the first down, but there's as good an indication this is the postseason as any.
Absolutely. How about that? Ricky Ray not hook sliding. He's wearing a knee brace. That was the injury sustained in Montreal. Missed basically 5 games, 4 technically, but 5 games. And this is playoff time.
See you, Ricky Ray. Broke Marcus Howard's tackle and then over TJ Hill for 2 or 3 extra yards to make it 3rd and just under a yard.
And don't think his teammates, including the defenders that are on the bench right now, look at Kenyon Rambo not dressed over there right away to say, hey, that was nice. That gets your teammates fired up.
So again, short yardage, 3rd time we've seen that. 1 fumble, 1 first down, and not a sure thing.
No, not against this D-line.
Jackson falling forward, a plunge that should be enough. And the chains move. First down, Toronto.
Had a great conversation with Chris Van Zyl about that D-line and the push they can get in the middle from Ted Laurent and Elmondo Sewell. And he said if the pocket is compromised on that push up the middle, it makes the tackle's job more challenging, because they're trying to run guys like Marcus Howard past Ricky Ray deep. And if he has to retreat, they can run him right into him.
St. Joe Appel in now at left guard in place of Andrew Jones. Handoff Packard straight ahead. And down to about the 12-yard line. Good run by Cackard.
And they certainly knew the pressure was on the offensive line with the talented Chad Cackard, and you've seen Andre Dury back in the lineup. You see Chad Owens and what he's done. You've got Dontrell Inman. There's a lot of weapons, but if that offensive line couldn't keep Ricky Ray clean in this game, it was going to be obviously the big issue. And so far, so good for the Argo offensive line. Ray's had throwing lanes.
Cackard gets 8. 2nd and 2. Takes the Cackard. Here's Maurice Mann, the former Eskimo. Touchdown. The Argonauts action here in the second quarter.
When you have success on the run like they did on first down to Chad Cackard, the defense is influenced, and Chad Cackard on this fake will draw defenders to him. Opens up Ricky Ray outside, and Maurice Mann turns the corner, lowers his shoulder, and is untouched into the end zone.
Just one touchdown in the regular season, 8 games played for Mann, who did not play against his former team in the regular season. 3 touchdowns in under 10 minutes, and the Argos open up the lead. There was one there, Ray to Mann for a touchdown. Now 14 points off turnovers for the Argos in this opening half.
Well, it was everything that Maurice Mann did pre-snap that helped him to get open out in the flat, then turn the corner and used his speed to cross the goal line. Man in charge of covering him was Rod Williams. Had all kinds of problems because of the pre-snap motion.
Amazing how the momentum changes in a football game. The Eskimos with a terrific start, opening drive touchdown. Corey Boyd fumbles on the final play of the first quarter. And this second quarter has belonged to Toronto. There's another huge boot off the upright. It's a dead ball. And again, nobody kicks it further off the tee than Swayze Waters. And that has really enhanced field position in this first half.
Let me show you Rod Williams and the challenges he had. There's Maurice Mann in the backfield. Here's the guy in charge of covering number 37, the corner. Now watch this pre-snap motion as he comes back in the line. Now Williams is having problems. He gets on the wrong side of the linebacking core, and now he's in pure chase position with a poor angle to try and catch Maurice Mann. He's going to use his speed to outrun that angle.
Deficit for Kerry Joseph and the Eskimos. And you start to wonder about Matt Nichols and when Kavis Reed, if and when he makes that call.
You know, and this has not been on. Kerry Joseph is doing almost everything in his power, but you're right, Chris.
Procedure. Edmonton number 64. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
That's the right tackle, the rookie Matt O'Donnell.
And it was the Corey Boyd fumble that really started the momentum shift, not something that happened with Kerry Joseph. However, that's what Kavis Reed told us yesterday. He's going to watch the body language from guys like Fred Stamps and Kerry Cook, and if they start to look frustrated, he might put Matt Nichols in just to change things up, shake up that offense a little.
Told us that Nichols would be in the game regardless of any situation. Corey Boyd stuffed. Hit Kevin Huntley in the middle of the play. Back in the lineup after missing a couple late in the season because of injury.
Kevin Huntley is a man amongst boys on this play. Watch how he just off the line of scrimmage. Scott Mitchell on roller skates in the backfield by 7 yards.
6'8", 299, a guy who didn't have as good a season as we've seen from Kevin Huntley. Great time to turn it around. Big pressure back down, and Koali almost came up with a pick. Ahmad Carroll off the edge with the knockdown. Halfback blitz as Chris Jones turns up the heat.
Well, and Kevin Huntley is down on the play. He took a double team and a low hit. And you're right, though, it was halfback from Ahmad Carroll. Who's right here. He's going to come off the edge, and he's the guy who's going to knock this down. Ejiro Koali had a shot at this on the deflection. He almost ran under that for an Argo touchdown. Take a look at Huntley right here. He gets double teamed. Both offensive linemen go down to the cut block to try and cut him down after what he did on first down. They're trying to take away his momentum and go right to his legs, and as he's turning, looks like they caught him at the side of the knee, but it looks like he's going to be okay.
Got up, and as he did, seemed to have a menacing glance at the Eskimo huddle.
Well, those guys don't like getting cut. Cut blocking on the offensive line is legal play. As long as you're not engaged and another offensive line comes and chop blocks you. That's one of the worst penalties in the game, but that was 2 offensive linemen cut blocking, which is legal.
Toys got a 59-yard touchdown already. Takes this on a hop and will run out on the Eskimos side of half as we check back in with Sarah Orleski.
Well, Chris, it took until late in the season for the Argos offense to really get going. Ricky Ray threw for 8 touchdowns in his final 2 regular season games. The last Argos quarterback to throw for 4 or more touchdowns in back-to-back games was Doug Flutie back in 1997. Now, perhaps it should come as no surprise, though, that it took a little while. This is the most complicated offense Ray says he's ever been a part of. And Anthony Calvillo, who spent years under Scott Milanovich in Montreal, told Ricky Ray after he got traded that the most time he'd ever spent on a playbook was under Milanovich. It's something that Ray's found out firsthand, but he says it's made him a more disciplined quarterback. We'll see whether or not this offense continues to roll as this game goes on.
Took a big hit there from Damaso Munoz, a big sack for Munoz, and the Eskimos trying to reclaim the momentum.
Well, with J.C. Sherritt out of the game, a guy who had 23 tackles and an interception in 2 games against Toronto, Damaso Munoz is going to have to make plays like this and get some of this momentum back. Great timing on that B-gap blitz between the guard and the tackle, and he gets to Ray.
3 sacks during the regular season, 1 against Toronto. 2nd and 17. Ray stands in, throws underneath. It's a completion, and Mann gets away and has the first down. Yards after the catch to move the chains for Maurice Mann. At 20-yard gain.
Sorry, Chris, matched up again on Rod Williams. And Rod Williams right here has got to try and get those emotions settled down a little bit and come up. He was in good position here to make a tackle and get the football back for his team, because that's a 2nd down play after the sack from Damaso Munoz, but he slips here and misses the tackle on Maurice Mann.
Should be the final play before the 3-minute warning. Pressure on again, and Ricky Ray will throw that away with Simone Lawrence applying the heat. Been a huge second quarter for the Argos, who fell behind early as Hugh Charles was off and running in the opening quarter. But the Argos have lit it up since, and they've got the lead at the 3-minute. 21-7 Argos, 2:54 left. And then it's GMC Live at the half. We'll check in with the guys, Dave Jock, Matt Schultze, and Milt will give us their thoughts on what we've seen, and welcome to La Police.
Absolutely. Welcome to our team, our crew. Did a good job in the pregame show, breaking down a couple plays and the way that the Argos like to play defense.
2nd and 10 for the Argos. At the 42-yard line. Ray throws. Andre Dury's got his first catch and a first down at the Edmonton 30-yard line. Andre Dury, 3rd among Canadian receivers this year.
Chris, I read an article this year about the receivers, and it was, believe, Andre Dury who mentioned it. Said when Ricky Ray arrived and he was catching the football, it's almost like, and this is a quote, that the ball catches itself. He is so accurate. That ball was bang on the money.
Cackard inside, and Jack Cackard spun down at the 27. J.C. Sherritt telling us yesterday he felt that Cackard was the most underrated offensive player that he faces, and still hard to believe he's not there today.
Great mutual respect, though, between those 2 players.
Absolutely. 2 guys kind of cut from the same cloth. Undersized, but big-time overachievers.
Heavy 6, 2 and 4.
Did you have any inkling yesterday, J.C. Sherritt, what he played?
Wow. No, he did a good job, didn't he? I mean, we had a long interview, talked about his season, his great record-breaking 130 tackles.
Violation. Toronto number 15. The loss of down. 3rd down. Timer, please reset the clock. to 155.
Costly penalty.
And he had the great poker face going on the entire time, and then a discussion with Kavis Reed, and all of a sudden it became apparent that his ankle may be a little worse than we knew and everyone had known at that point. So again, final decision being made this morning, and it's been a quiet start for Simone Lawrence in the middle, replacing J.C. Sherritt.
Loss of downs.
Had just one tackle in the first half of play.
Loss of down means it's third down, and the field goal unit has come on. Waters kicking out of the hold of Trevor Harris, a 34-yard attempt. And the lead is now 24-7 in favor of Toronto. So the Eskimos with just under 2 minutes remaining to put a better complexion on this first half.
And if we are going to see a quarterback change, likely obviously wouldn't happen until after this final minute 51. No sense putting in Matt Nichols, who wouldn't be warm or loose yet at this point. I mean, I think more pressing is who plays tailback. Corey Boyd's still in the huddle right now, and he's had a real slow start to this game where Hugh Charles was playing pretty well in that first quarter.
Adriano Belli does some chirping. There goes show pressure again. Here they come. And the throw behind is incomplete. Kerry Koch streaking down the sidelines with Pat Watkins step for step.
Our newest member on the panel in the pregame show talked about the fact that Edmonton are going to have to try and take some shots down the field against the style of defense Toronto likes to play. One of those shots, but good coverage by Pat Watkins.
That one deep shot, 46-yarder to Stamps. A 47-yard run by Charles, but not much else so far. Gonna go deep again for Stamps. There you go, Jay Watt! Incomplete. Good coverage there as the safety, Jordan Younger, came across.
Well, Sarah's looking into it right now on the Edmonton sideline. And I'm just a little curious as to the decision at tailback for Edmonton on that last series. I mean, Corey Boyd stepped in. They go deep on 2 plays, so not a factor. In fact, he picked up a nice block on that second down. But look at his rushing numbers. 5 of 15. Of course, he had the key fumble at the end of the first. Hugh Charles got off to a great start, so maybe is Hugh Charles nicked as he tries to stay loose.
And Charles, of course, has that added dimension of being a terrific receiver. Only Andrew Harris had more receiving yards from the tailback position this year. Shaw the boot. Owens will try and set Ricky Ray up for more first half points, but the cover team does its job, led by Mike Cornell. So 88 seconds remaining in the first half for Ricky Ray to work on this 17-point Toronto lead.
Well, and that's plenty of time to, for sure, field goal range. But plenty of time to move the football right down the field. Now that defense, who've come on and slowed the momentum a little bit over the last 2 series, may have something to say about that.
From their 40, pass to man, sheds the tackle, and another got a first down. And yards after the catch for Mo Man have been impressive in this first half.
Well, they're using the wide side of the field, but watch the recognition from the veteran. The future Hall of Famer is going to pick up inside blitz, see it quickly, and know that he's got to get rid of the football now. And he gets it out there to Maurice Mann. At worst case scenario, 4 or 5 yard gain, best case first down.
And another first down for Mann. 4th catch for him. Had a 100-yard game against the Rough Riders in Saskatchewan, the game that nailed down the home playoff berth for the Argos.
It was interesting. That game probably put him, because there was some question as to which receiver would have to sit this one out, but that one probably put him on the roster.
Tackled inside, big hole. Another first down and a flag as he gets taken down inside the 35.
Flag was late in the process.
After the first down was gained, holding, corner number 67. 10 yards from the spot of the foul, first down.
A late hold by the center, Jeff Keeping. We'll bring it back to the 45.
Jeff Keeping is good initially. His first block's fine. That one there is good. Just a little chip. Now he gets on the linebacker, and he gets his hand on the jersey, and that draws the flag.
First and 10. Set up a screen. Captain gets by Munoz. Roland Brown will make the stop at the 37-yard line.
A nice play call. Nice play call after the penalty to come back and get the penalty yardage back and get the football team for Toronto back in field goal position. That's a good call by Scott Milinovic.
We mentioned Corey Boyd now with Edmonton. One of the reasons they make that change is because Kacker a little better as a receiver, and now on the run, he'll have the first down at the 30. Chad Kacker fourth in yards per game rushing by running backs this year.
As I mentioned, in the first game of the season between these two teams, Kacker was covering kicks. Corey Boyd was the feature back for Toronto, and boy, just a shrewd move for Scott Milinovic to realize in this offense, Kacker suited it better. And at that time, cut the leading rusher in the league, Corey Boyd.
First down, Ray steps up. Has a man open. There's Andre Dury. Another Argo first down. Dury is taken out on the sidelines, and a flag will add to the play for Toronto.
Horse collar tackle, it looked like, from behind. Simone Lawrence in chase. And Lawrence right on the sidelines, going to pull him down from behind.
Major foul, horse collar tackle. Edmonton number 48, half the distance to the goal line, first down.
Point to emphasize for Kavis Reed when he goes in at halftime will be tackling from the secondary and linebacking core. And there's their leading tackler again, not playing. But some sloppy tackling has led to some bigger gains.
First and goal from the 7. Way up one way and now bounces the other. And that one out of reach. Mike Bradwell, the intended target. 6 seconds left. Or check that, Spencer Watt, the intended receiver. Kick the field goal or one more.
Tough decision here, because if you're real efficient, you could sneak one in. That's why Ricky Ray, when he got out of the pocket, he knew the time clock in his mind and had to get rid of it to give himself another chance here.
I think because they're inside the 10, there's time to execute the play. If it was out a little further, they might have Waters on already. McKinnon, it's a draw play. Ricky Ray.
What a call. What a call. The element of surprise.
His first touchdown run as a Toronto Argonaut.
I promise you, the Edmonton defense did not work on defending against quarterback draw when facing Ricky Ray.
Extra point from Waters, and the Argos put up 31 in the opening half.
And the reason Ricky Ray celebrating that touchdown, remember the guy who got the penalty to put him in a tough situation on first down again, that was Jeff Keeping, the center. Chip block here, watch him get out on the linebacker, seal the deal so that Ricky Ray has a lane to get to the end zone. Jeff Keeping steps up big time when he has to. on that play after taking an earlier penalty.
Rookie head coach is fired up on the Argos sidelines. Well, there's no doubt this team has weapons. They put up 43 points last week without Ricky Ray. But with a red-hot quarterback, they've got 31 in the opening half here. And all in the second quarter.
Again, consider the importance of slowing what has been a dominant pass rush for the Edmonton Eskimos all year, especially the interior of their D-line, that the focus was to keep Ricky Ray clean. They've done that in this first half. He's run a couple of times, including that touchdown run. Just a tremendous call from Scott Malone, but so far the O-line has done their job up front. He's been clean.
With it. Bouncing down and the ground will field it at the 20. And Chamberlain hit ground, but he is contained. David Lee will bring him down. End of the first half and an enormous second quarter for the Argos, who will hear from their fans as they head to the locker room. 31-7 halftime in the Eastern Suburbs.
The double blue explode in the second quarter with 31 unanswered points, 7 of them on this electrifying 59-yard punt return by the flying Hawaiian. And it is all Argos right now in the Eastern semifinal. Hi, everybody. Dave, Jock, Milt, Chris, and Matt. Everybody's here. Okay, we got a lot of ground to cover, and hate to say it, but how do you think this one's going over in Edmonton right now? Ricky Ray, after a very slow start, didn't have a first down until the final minute of the opening quarter, is now feeding it to them big time. This is the most points they have ever scored in any half this season, and it is now a CFL playoff record for most points scored in any playoff quarter. Wow. 31 points. Now, Matty, they were talking about whether or not Ricky Ray is the guy that led the Eskimos to all those great cups. Did you ever buy into any of that?
Well, I mean, there were times in Edmonton that he faltered, but I think it was more scheme and personnel that was around him. You put Ricky Ray in this scheme, good things are going to happen. And you've got the big three in Owens, Dury, and Inman, but it's other guys had to step up, and they've been doing it over the last several weeks, and certainly in this quarter. Ray takes it upon himself here. I think it really sparks his football team with the energized run, and then he finds Kack in a dump down. That's a guy that's got to step up consistently for him. And then guys like, whether it's Rambo or Barnes or this guy, Mo Man, they've got to step up. That's what's happened with this offense. Ricky Ray in this game, with people stepping up above and beyond the big three, good things are going to happen, Jock.
You know, Matt, if you talk to any coach, they will tell you the importance of special teams. I know we sometimes don't give it the attention that it probably deserves, but believe me, for the players, it's huge, and special teams was a huge factor, and we saw the Chad Owens touchdown, but I want to explain how it happened. First of all, Grant Shaw is trying to do what's called a directional kick here. This is a cross-field punt that is being done on purpose, but Chad Owens is up to the task. He catches the ball in the air, and you don't expect that. What Grant Shaw's got to do is put the ball on the ground. He wants to go across the field and get it bouncing around, and he didn't, and this is the result. They had the wall set up too. Charlotte had the perfect call at the perfect time. They actually had a wall set up because the punt went across the field and they took advantage. And you don't think that this is important too? Swayze Waters, he's got the strongest leg in the league down to the 3-yard line. You know how many kickers can kick the ball inside the 5? Nobody except for him. And what's the result? Inside the 25 to start off their drive. Huge factor, special teams.
That is offense, that is special teams. But, Milt, you feel this game really turned with a defensive decision that the Argos made. Why?
Yeah, they decided to put some pressure on the quarterback. And all year long, this Argo defense has been solid defensive backs, great linebacking core, but their Achilles heel has been their defensive line. They haven't been able to get any pressure on the quarterback. You see right here, 2nd and 5. Kerry Joseph has all day to find his receivers. I'm thinking after this play, Chris Jones, defense coordinator, decides, that's it. I'm going to go after Kerry Joseph. I'm going to send Brandon Isaac. I'm going to send Marcus Ball. I'm going to send Ahmad Kerr. I'm going to put pressure on him. I'm not going to allow him to sit back there and feel comfortable and allow his receivers to run routes all day on my defense. This was the best decision so far made in this first half, and it's really hard for these Edmonton Eskimos to figure it out.
Seems like a long time ago, but the Eskimos had a great start, scoring in their opening possession a touchdown. First time they've done that all year long. Schultze, can Can they regain any of that mojo?
Oh, they had it and they lost it in terms of attitude, because Edmonton came out and they really dictated physically to the Toronto Argonauts, and it was Joe Burnett that I noticed that made some really interesting plays, and he really dictated the emotion first. I want you to see the return here. Towards the end of the return, he doesn't even decide to go for the touchdown. He decides right there to go for the collision. That's an attitude. Again, watch this play where it's just a delicate touchdown almost, but Chad Kagger gets roughed up on the play. Their attitude was so present in the first quarter, but what you got to understand about playoff football are those turnovers. Those returns on special teams, it flips everything over. If I'm in the locker room, I say, guys, we got one opportunity here. Go out, hit everything that moves, create turnovers, go no huddle, put Matt Nichols in. Let's see what you got, kid.
It was that Corey Boyd fumble that I thought really changed the whole momentum in that game. And playoffs, turnovers are so much more pronounced in the playoffs. And I know Corey Boyd wanted a huge game against his former team, but he's going to look back on that one and regret it.
Absolutely. Marcus Ball, too, run fitting on the interception. A little shovel. He run fit, shut down Charles, glued onto him, pressure off the edge. Bang. Big score.
Chad Owens with his first return for a touchdown this season, but the big story is Ricky Ray. This is his first rushing touchdown as a Toronto Argonaut. And it is all Ricky Ray and the Toronto Argonauts over the Eskimos. And, of course, the second half of our playoff doubleheader, the West semifinal. The Riders in snowy Calgary to take on the Stamps. They will kick that one off at just after 4:30 Eastern. Paul Lapalisse with us back in studio now with the coach's playbook. Lapa, we talk so much about offense and defense. Maybe we don't talk enough about special teams. Let me ask you this. Is there a bigger dagger in a one-game playoff than a missed field goal return coming back at you for a touchdown?
No, it's certainly a demoralizing play. It's a play that's happened to me in my career, and you have to make sure that you cover downfield. And here's an example right here. We have 3 players doing a great job blocking for the return. Okay, if you watch the players that I've highlighted, they're going to create a lane for Tristan Jackson to take it upfield, and there's way too much space. It's missed to the field. It's a field return. That's a recipe for disaster. Tristan Jackson bounces outside and takes it. You know, we know that he may be not on the roster today, but they do a great job as you look at this tape with their return. So whoever's back there is going to do a tremendous job. Okay, if you look at this clip, this is Larry Taylor with Calgary. The offensive linemen are told to go down and cover and fan out on the field. They've got a contained player here who fans it all back inside. Unfortunately, he brings it inside where there's 4 offensive linemen, a kicker, and a defensive end. Only one of those players is paid to tackle, and Larry Taylor's certainly paid to make you miss. Jackson can't get to him, so now that's a huge play and a touchdown.
You know, we've talked an awful lot in here about the risks of kicking a long field goal with a guy like Taylor waiting for it in the end zone. So as a coach, do you go into the game with a certain number where if it is here or greater, I'm not even going to attempt a field goal?
Yeah, certainly I go in with a number, and that number comes from your experiences with your kickers as well as before the game. What you'll see is a lot of head coaches out there with the kickers and asking, what's your range with the wind? What's your range into the wind? And then we come up with that number, and we try to stay within that number.
So as an offense, you got the ball here. What do you do to increase your odds to at least getting to that number where you're comfortable so at the very least you can attempt a field goal?
You know, part of the game within the game is you have got to do a great job. You complete a pass first, and you're 1st and 10 at the 43-yard line. I know it's a 50-yard field goal now. My next 2 calls, you have got to do something to get within the kicker's range. I'm going to call my highest completion percentage pass. I'm going to call my best run. But I am not going to go 2 incompletions and now be looking at a 50-yard field goal.
Get there and then take a shot at the end zone, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Paul Lapalisse with the coach's playbook.
Halftime stats are brought to you by Intact Insurance. Your home, your auto, your business. Intact Insurance. You're back.
And here are the stats for the Eastern semifinal. All Argos right now, Matt.
Tentative start for the Argonauts, but 31 unanswered points in the second quarter. You know, a balanced attack. Special teams chipped in. The rushing game was there. Ricky Ray finding his groove. Defense turning over. Argonauts are on fire.
Here is Chad Owens, who scored one of those touchdowns in the second quarter with Sarah Orleski.
Chad, we could look at turnovers, but still this Argos team has been opportunistic when given that opportunity. 31 points in that second quarter. What was the biggest difference?
Us scoring on specials. Not saying my play, but I told the guys, look, if we can score on specials, we're going to give ourselves a really good chance to win the game. We're at home. It was a big momentum swing for us. You know, they kind of had the momentum, and it was a play that we needed to turn that momentum, and defense responded, offense responded, and it's starting to roll. But it's very exciting. We've got another half to go, though.
This building often gets criticized for not having a lot of atmosphere in it. How much do you guys feed off of this loud crowd, especially late in that quarter?
It's everything. You know, we felt it in the season finale against Hamilton and what our fans are able to provide for us. And that whole second quarter, when we started rolling, we really felt the energy. We were feeding off of that, and that's what home field advantage is supposed to be.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks.
The Eskimos have just 2 wins on the road all season long, and they're in a big hole entering the second half.
Welcome back to Toronto. We get set for the second half of this Eastern semifinal en route to the 100th Grey Cup. But Sarah Leske first with Kivas Reed.
Kavis, Matt Nichols is going to start this second half. What are you hoping that he brings to you that you didn't have in the first half?
You know, I think Kerry was under a lot of duress. Our protection really wasn't where it needed to be, but we need a change of pace, and so we're going to go with Matt.
What was the top thing that you addressed with your group at the half?
Our tackling and the fundamentals. We're not down by 24 points, and we're tackling well. And when we start to execute the fundamental things, we'll be okay.
Thank you, Kavis.
Thank you.
So tackling an issue without the leading tackler in the Canadian Football League.
And Kivas Reed talking to Kerry Joseph, and I guarantee you he was whispering that, listen, this is not your fault, but we're looking at a change of pace here with Matt Nichols, a guy who's had the hot hand of late. Talked about that Montreal game a couple of weeks ago with 9 minutes left. He went 9 of 15, 230 yards and 3 touchdowns. His first to Fred Stamps on his first play, and started the last game against Calgary. It wasn't Kerry Joseph's fault they are in this big of a hole.
Blake has confirmed that the 31 second quarter points by the Argonauts is a Canadian Football League playoff record for a quarter. Chad Owens contributing with that 59-yard punt return touchdown. Some firsts for the Argos. His first of the year kick return touchdown. Ricky Ray, first rushing touchdown as a Toronto Argonaut. And the Argos get the ball first in this second half. Chad Owens. And he spun down just across the 30. Kai Stewart with the tackle. Let's check the Argo leaders in that opening 30 minutes.
Huge momentum shift from the first quarter to the second. Ricky Ray owned the second, 141 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He had the touchdown run that had to just completely surprise the Edmonton defense. 4 late touches in that first half for Chad, or 8, I should say, for Chad Cacker for 48 yards and a touchdown. Became more involved as Ricky Ray had more opportunity with the offense on the field.
First 3 possessions for the Argos, 3 punts. Last 4 possessions, touchdown, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, and right back to work. Looked one way, and now it's just going to throw the football into the Eskimo bench and reload.
Kivas Reed emphasizing with his defense that tackling was an issue in the first half, and Maurice Mann did some damage in yards after the catch. And he said, get back to the fundamentals and climb back in this one one play at a time.
4 catches for Mann in the first half, 2nd and 10. Ray looking for Mann. He's got the grab just beyond the 30-yard line, but he'll be short of the first down, and a decision for Scott Milanovich here. 3rd and 1.
Armando Sewell a little slow to get up back there and has had some issues in this first half. He and Ted Laurent have been tough to contain in the middle of the D-line, and so far the Argo O-line has basically shut him down.
No hesitation. Once it's confirmed it's a full yard, Milanovich sends out the punt team. When asked about coaching in the playoffs, he talked about situations, and with the lead, not going to take any chances.
Mondo Sewell as he's trying to come around. He gets cut blocked late by Chris Van Zyl.
Prefontaine to boot it away. And Burnett awaits at the Edmonton 30. They get downfield in a hurry. Mike Bradwell with the tackle. The McMaster Products celebrating the Marauder win yesterday. And here comes Matt Nichols to handle the quarterback duties in the second half for Edmonton.
2 starts on the season, both versus Calgary. But in that last game of the regular season, threw for 341 yards. Eskimos lost the game, but he played well.
In his last 5 quarters, 571 passing yards and 5 touchdowns.
Well, we hope that that's the spark that he can bring. So far, Fred Stamps with just 2 catches. 1 went for 0 yards, 1 for 46. Made the one big play in the first half.
Going to the air right away, looking for Coke, and incomplete. Off his fingertips, and Pacino Horn in pretty good defensive position for the Argos.
Well, the Argo defense knows that when Matt Nichols comes in the game like he's done the last few, including that Montreal game I mentioned, he wants to sling it deep and start to make something happen down the field. He got Fred Stamps on the very first play, a couple touchdowns, 3 total in that Montreal game. And Stamps has been one of his favorite targets. And I mentioned that because Stamps was contained for the most part in the first half, mostly by Evan McCullough, who lined up against him 16 times.
Edmonton converted 4 of their first 5 second down situations, early movement. This play doesn't get off. Since then, they were 1 for 7.
Procedure. Edmonton number 64. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
Second penalty against the newcomer right tackle, Matt O'Donnell. Warren Thompson, the starting left tackle for the Eskimos, out. Devin Tyler moved across from the right side, and that opened up a spot for the youngster O'Donnell, acquired in midseason in a trade with Saskatchewan. 6'11", 340, so when he moves early, you notice. Second and 15. Nichols steps up and dumps it off. Away goes Hugh Charles, and Charles got a first down. And Charles across midfield into Argo territory. We wondered if he got off to a great start in this game, and then they went to Corey Boyd for most of the second quarter.
Well, Cavis Reed said coming in there would be a rotation between the 2 tailbacks, but again, I was wondering that because of the hot start for Hugh Charles, that he wouldn't just stay with the guy who's running better. And Corey Boyd's numbers way down in the first half. Charles was up, and yet he stuck with his rotation.
30 yards for Charles. First down. Flag down. Free play for the Eskimos. And Karen Coke has a first down at the Toronto 40.
You know, I can understand Cavis Reed thinking that, you know, Corey Boyd's going to be motivated and he's going to want to play against his old team and play hard. But when he saw Boyd struggle early, I was surprised that Reed didn't go back to Hugh Charles sooner. Let's see what this penalty flag is.
Offside. Corner number 28. That penalty's declined. First down.
Brandon Isaac hopped into the neutral zone.
Of course, Boyd fumbled to end the first quarter on the last play, and that switched momentum. Did not have big yards rushing, and Hugh Charles did have some big plays, including the 47-yard short yardage run.
Nichols directing traffic. Coke in motion. Pressure off the ends. The pass is complete. And Big Marcus Henry down to the 30-yard line, where he will be close to another Edmonton first down.
You mentioned that great card trade, and the one reason that Matt O'Donnell was picked up in that trade, and Warren Thompson being out on the O-line, and when you consider Marcus Henry as part of that, because Marcus Henry's return to the lineup was the reason that Greg Carr was expendable. That facilitated the trade with Matt O'Donnell, and they needed him because they lost Oren Thompson. So it's funny how sometimes things trickle down, and all of a sudden you need that big left tackle in there, or excuse me, right tackle in this case. May eventually play left tackle, has a big future, maybe being rushed into a starting job, especially in a playoff game, but is holding his own right now, Matt O'Donnell.
Second and inches, jumbo team comes on, but you wonder if Edmonton will be looking for more than just a few inches. They do plunge ahead and get a fresh set of downs, and O'Donnell leans on one of the Argos at the bottom of that pile, and that causes a reaction.
Was there a late offensive lineman for the Eskimos that jumped in there? Was it Matt O'Donnell?
Yeah, he just leaned on Marcus Ball on that pile, and
his teammates tell him, just keep it together. I know you're young, I know you're a rookie, and I know you're getting that first start. But he's got the down block. You can see number 64 now. He steps up and then a push to the face, and he just a little extra after that play was over. Brandon Isaac good one.
Give a guy 6'11" a little leverage, he'll take advantage of it. First down, Edmonton. Belly with a quick jump. And the pass down inside the 5. Incomplete. There was some early movement from Adriano Belli, but no flag on the play.
Yeah, it looked like he jumped back and got back in time. That was the throw to Marcus Henry that was in the right spot. You cannot put this one on Matt Nichols, because this is thrown to the outside shoulder. See, Evan McCullough's in great position on that inside, but you throw it to the outside shoulder, give your receiver a chance, and he did. Henry couldn't come up with it.
And Matt Nichols trying to provide a spark. So far, so good, but big second and 10. Looks down the sidelines. Chambers, does he have it? No. The kid out of Markham with a great effort to try and keep his feet in and make the catch. And the field goal team will come on.
Just ran out of real estate on the sideline a little bit. Looked like the toe was in, but he didn't survive contact coming down. Even though it's out of bounds, he still has to maintain possession and survive contact with the turf. And he knew it because he kept his feet in nicely.
5 minutes into this third quarter. First possession for Matt Nichols, and now a 36-yard field goal attempt for Glenn Shaw. And Shaw puts it through. And so it's a 21-point Argo lead. And in the Canadian Football League in November, it's a rush for silver. Grey Cup 100 here in Toronto in 2 weeks' time. One of these two teams needs 2 wins to get there. Long uphill climb for the Eskimos, but something positive to start that second half. With Nichols at the controls. Chad Owens back at his 5. And he is taken down about the 25. Flag down, we'll sort it out when we come back. Remembrance Day in Canada, a day to remember, to respect, and show our gratitude for the men and women who have served and continue to serve in the Canadian Forces.
Of course, the great loss of life in World War I, the two great wars, and shots of D-Day and the beaches of Normandy. Of course, there's the Korean War. 516 Canadian military personnel killed in that conflict, and more recently, the war on terror in Afghanistan. 158 Canadian military personnel killed there, and we just want to again honor and show great respect and admiration for our men and women in the Canadian Forces.
Wonderful moment during a break in the first half here. A standing ovation from the fans after a video tribute to veterans on the scoreboard here.
And it is also Veterans Day in the United States, and our allies guys south of the border are a big part of it. And we have an Army veteran in our presence, and that's Robert McCune, playing middle linebacker for this football team. 4 years in the U.S. Army, 4 years with the National Guard. He served a year in South Korea, 6 months in Kuwait. And when he was in his junior year at the University of Louisville, he got the call as a member of the National Guard right after 9/11 to get ready to go back to Afghanistan.
Big first down run by Hackert, and now Mann with a catch over the middle. Short yardage, spun down at the 32.
And I talked to Robert yesterday about that, and he said he wanted to have a special shout out to all our men and women in the military, maybe watching on a computer somewhere in the desert somewhere, and he said, hey, get home safe, get home to your families. We appreciate it. He knows what they're going through, and his saying for his unit when he was in the U.S. Army was stay alert and stay alive.
Second down, they fake the tackle. Owens with the catch. Weldon Brown is going to wrestle him down short of the first down.
Weldon Brown heard the message from Cavis Reed. That's good fundamental tackling, and it's gonna force a tough decision here, because that's Chad Owens. You know what he can do with the football.
And they're right back in the same spot after their first possession, about a yard short, 3rd and 1.
He has a little bit of leverage too on the outside there, but good tackle there by Weldon Brown.
Going to get a measurement here, and it gives us the opportunity just to finishing thoughts on Remembrance Day and watch the photograph, part of the Engraved on a Nation series on the RCAF Hurricanes, winners of the 1942 Grey Cup, and 7 of the 15 men on that team who went over to fight didn't come back, and it gave you a whole different perspective on the term Grey Cup hero. Jake Goddard, a member of that team, all trained as pilots and airmen to go over to fight in World War II. And if you missed it Friday night, make sure you get the opportunity to see it on replay. Third and 1, second consecutive possession for the Argos, and Prefontaine back in to kick. You never know with Mike O'Shea, but with the lead 21, Argos not taking any chances yet.
It's holding right there.
Good boot by the left footer, and it's Burnett fielding it at the 35. They're going to get the no yards, but Burnett wants more himself, and all the way up to the 49-yard line. 13-yard return, and again that no yards flag on the field.
Back, he got a field goal to start the second half, and big second down conversion from Hugh Charles in that series. Good field position to start this second drive for number 16.
They start at their own 50. Hugh Charles is the running back. Stands in motion. Nichols moved that way, now the other, and wants a good one with the Cheeto horn. On the stop, and a flag in the backfield. And it's going against Toronto.
Adriano Belli over there trying to argue his case.
Major foul, roughing the passer. Corner number 96. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Wasn't on him.
Armand Armstead.
It was on Armstead. Take a look. He's going to be picked up, well, sort of picked up by Hugh Charles. A push at the end. They're going to call that. You know, it's not a major hit. It's not a hit to the head, but the ball's gone, and you just give the quarterback a shove like that, you're going to get called.
That gives the Eskimos a first down at the Argo 45. Here comes the heat. Nichols stands in. Watch Charles, who really wasn't able to track the football, and it falls incomplete.
I'm going to show you, just go back to that kick before we went to break, and a big hit from TJ Hill. Just a little example of playoff football right here. TJ Hill coming back on the crack block, and he takes Etienne Boulay, and that's big-time playoff football. Got the attention of all the Toronto Argonauts as they came by and looked at this hit and went, ooh.
4 tackles for Hill today, and you can see some heads on a swivel after that. Second and 10. Here comes a heat from Armstead and company, and Nichols just got it away. And Matt Nichols in some difficulty. And that leg has been badly injured.
Armstead and Flemings on a stunt.
Intentional grounding. Edmonton number 16. Ball's put at the spot of the foul. Third down.
And he is seriously hurt.
Okay, everybody be cool.
Matt Nichols is seriously hurt right now.
Yeah, that leg was pointing a different way there, and immediate concern on the field. And the medical staff from both teams out in a hurry.
Flemings and Armstead at 300 and 275 pounds, full speed through the middle, and they're the ones that track down Matt Nichols at that kind of weight and pressure. And this one's not pretty. There's 99, and 96 comes through as well.
Guys have found an angle that is not quite as disconcerting. But it was obvious to everybody around Matt Nichols that this was severe. And the cart comes out quickly. Young quarterback who has shown so much promise in a short period of time in the last few weeks. And had given the Eskimos a shot of adrenaline here in this third quarter.
Now both teams, a little prayer for Matt Nichols. Hope that he's not injured too bad. I mean, it didn't look good at all. They're putting a soft cast on him to stabilize it right now, and it is unfortunately the reality of the game. It's, you know, we show you a big hit from TJ Hill that is part of why we love football, and then moments later you're reminded about the reality and the possibility of serious injury.
Didn't take long for the medical staffs from both teams to get out on the field, and they will endeavor to get Matt on the cart. We'll step out and be right back. Well, we're back. Matt Nichols on the cart, and the entire Eskimo bench has just cleared to go to midfield. That tells you something about Matt Nichols, and it tells you something about this Eskimo team. To a man out there.
Well, and as soon as he got on the stretcher, he waved to show everyone he was okay. I mean, obviously seriously injured, but wanted to make sure, and his teammates were right out there by his side immediately, and a lot of Argos that went to pat him on the back.
One incredibly tough athlete. Nichols' season is unfortunately over. It's a third down, so the kick team is out. Will it be Kerry Joseph, or will it be even Stephen Giles when the Eskimos go back on offense? And the reason we suggest Stephen Giles is Yesterday, Kavis Reed told us, although it is Joseph warming up right away to answer the question, but Kavis Reed told us that Stephen Giles had a package for this game and would, in some likelihood, see action no matter what happened during the course of the game.
It'll be interesting to see Kerry Joseph in the short term. The most important part too, Chris, for both these teams now is to try and get that edge back, to block out what they just watched and move on to this next play and play with the same speed and attention and intensity that you did before, because you can't let up at all.
John trying to pin the Argos here. Chad Owens has it at the 13. And he gets corkscrewed down about the 16-yard line. Just a 3-yard return after a 45-yard kick. Again, it's a 21-point Argo lead, and Toronto will start deep in their own zone.
16-22 for Ricky Ray. 1 touchdown rushing the football as well. One of the key plays for this Argo offense that sparked them in the second quarter was when he took off and ran on a broken play, trying to pass it. The pocket broke down a little bit. He took off, took on some hits. And when he made that play, it really grabbed some momentum for his football team.
Into the hands of Packard. And he has 4.
He completed 68.6% of his passes in the regular season for over 4,000 yards. And that completion percentage, 2012, was a Toronto Argonaut record.
72.8 in this game. Scott Milanovich saying if they could give Ricky Ray enough time, he'll be 70% efficient every game. Second down here. Underneath is Maurice Mann on the crosser. Gets away from another, and finally leveled by TJ Hill, but Mann's become a valuable asset in this Argo offense today. 13 more for Maurice Mann.
And he's taking advantage of the accuracy from a quarterback who throws the football that catches itself as he comes across on this crosser. And look at that, in stride. I know that's just about a 8-9 yard dump pass over the middle. A real high percentage pass, but he puts it right where Maurice Mann can do something with it.
And closing in on his best game of the year. Fake the sweep to Owens, and now over the middle, and Packard picked that off his shoe tops for a gain to the 35.
There's a few on the Edmonton bench that thought that bounced.
And I wouldn't mind another look either.
Wasn't a big gain on first down. We'll take another look and see if that did hit the ground and bounce up to him. I think it did.
Is it worth the challenge?
Now, considering I said a minimal gain, it was actually no gain on the play. Or did they rule it?
No, now they have ruled incomplete. So they changed the ball, make the right decision. Yep. 2nd and 10. They're going to let one fly. And there's flags flying. Tight coverage over there, and it was too tight on Maurice Mann by the short side corner, Rod Williams.
He's putting on a show, and this has been the matchup. Maurice Mann out of Nevada is putting on a show here this afternoon.
Pass interference. Edmonton number 37. Ball spotted at the point of the foul. First down.
Gets press coverage. And Rod Williams is in great position for basically the entire route. But at the top of it, when the ball's about to arrive, Williams not looking back and trying to fight it. Now, in fairness to Rod Williams, did Mann get his face mask? He did. Not allow him to turn his head.
Turns out to be a 24-yard play, and now Packard gets wrestled down by Sean Lemon after 5. Maurice Mann was traded by Edmonton to Hamilton in 2010, and this may be his best game since leaving the Eskimos.
You know, in fairness to Rod Williams, Chris, I want to go back and take another look at this because he did get his face mask. Maurice Mann right there gets the face mask of Rod Williams, who was trying to turn to the football. Missed by the officials. Could have been offensive interference.
2nd and 5 from the Eskimo 50. Short drop Ray. He's got Dontrell Inman with a neat move to get down to the 40-yard line.
Well, he sidesteps a big hit that was coming from Samani Lawrence coming across from the linebacking spot and gets the ball again on the timing from Ray in a perfect way to be able to avoid this contact, because here comes, well, he was coming.
First catch for Inman and the 6 different Argo with Ricky Ray reception on the day. Argo's chewing up some yards in the clock here in the 3rd quarter. First down at the Toronto 40. Fake to Kacker, Ray on a roll. There's Andre Dury, and he'll step out around the 35.
You know, it's just not only is he moving the chains here and continuing to add to his stats total, but, you know, the moment that December trade happened, this Toronto Argonaut team, for the first time in a long time, had hope, because they had a future Hall of Famer, a Grey Cup champion at the helm, and it took them a while. But take a look at the offensive rankings of this football team before Ray arrived. Last since 07. And they've moved up to the halfway mark, and they'll continue to grow with this guy pulling the trigger.
And that's without him playing 4 games. That pass was tipped to the line, but still got to Jason Barnes.
Well, you can see how he's spreading it out. I mean, Dontrell Inman gets involved. We haven't seen much of the ball in Andre Dury's hands, but that's probably next. There's the tip at the line of scrimmage, but still completed, and this time Jason Barnes.
3rd and about a yard and a half, and once again Scott Milanovic sends out the kick team. This time it's the field goal group. Swayze Waters looks at a 39-yarder that would make it more than a 3-touchdown lead. Has missed that to the right side. It'll go for a single point, and it's 32-10. Our sack tally brought to you by Pure Later, tackling hunger across Canada.
BC Lions are waiting one more week and will host the Western Final, as will the Montreal Alouettes. You can see them in the top 4 in the CFL. Calgary will play Saskatchewan after our game here in Toronto. And there are the Edmonton Eskimos. You mentioned their giveaway takeaways, leading the league in takeaways. It starts up front. Great promotion, that tackle hunger. Over 1 million pounds of food.
Congratulations to the folks at Pure Later and Chris Schultz for all the good work to stock up the food banks. So Kerry Joseph back at the controls. Just 4 completions in the first half. Short drop, wins that in, and that's off the fingertips of Jiro Kowali.
We'll see what happens. There's 1 quarter basically left on this Edmonton Eskimo football season. The guy who started it, part of that Ricky Ray trade, Stephen Giles, who hasn't seen the field yet, but now has his helmet on. Matt Nichols is done. Do we see Giles in the 4th?
Such an intricate part of the dynamics of the Ricky Ray trade. 2nd and 10. Brandon Isaac blitzing, and that pass is caught. Looked like Pacino Horn had a shot at the interception, but Nate Kuhorn comes up with the catch. Calgary Dino product with the grab, a first down Edmonton at the end of the 3rd quarter. Chad Owens with a 59-yard return on the day, and the Argos lead headed to the 4th.
Control from the 2nd quarter on through that 3rd quarter. That one drive that was ended in a missed field goal, but that one drive lasted over 5 minutes. He's got a great grasp of this Scott Milanovic offense. Bodes well for this Argonaut team.
And a real tough break for Matt Nichols, who seemed to inject a little bit of life in the Eskimos in the third quarter. Now back to Kerry Joseph, maybe Stephen Giles. I wanted to go back to something Scott Milanovich mentioned yesterday. If things went according to Hoyle for the Argos, he'd like to be conservative with his decisions in a lead, and we've seen that in this third quarter.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you don't when you have a big lead like that, you want to give the opponent any momentum.
Kerry Joseph scrambling, and now he'll take off. And Joseph will run across midfield, get a first down, and he gets punished by Kowali as 5 tackles 5 after a 12-yard run.
Another, great job of field management from Scott Milanovich. When you talk about those decisions, Chris, he had a couple of third down and a yard or shorter in that third quarter. Probably could have gone, might have in a different circumstance, but with a nice lead, makes the Edmonton Eskimos play on the long field, having to put together 10, 12-play drives to come back, and they have to look at the clock now, too.
No Eskimo has caught more than 2 passes in the game. First down, and mixed up. Corey Boyd went the wrong way, and that kind of has been the type of day it's been for Corey Boyd.
I'm surprised that he's on the field, to be honest with you, Chris. And, with all due respect to Kavis Reed, who's done a good job, Corey Boyd did not know the play when he got out there. You could tell by how Kerry Joseph, watch Joseph has to turn around. Now, Corey Boyd doesn't know what to do, so Joseph turns around and has to tell him the play. He still doesn't know, and then Boyd goes the wrong way on the handoff. So, I mean, you just, at this point in the game, with the Edmonton Eskimo season on the line, the rotation, don't you think, should go out the window?
But with all that said, a penalty against the Argos, a major foul. And Patrick Watkins and Shamad Chambers downfield had something going, and an illegal contact penalty, I believe, against Watkins, who rather...
I'm a little...
They're still going at it.
Well, I'm a little surprised there was illegal contact on a receiver penalty on a play that was stopped at the line of scrimmage and wasn't a passing play.
See what else happens here as they go for Marcus Henry, and a one-handed catch by Henry at the 20-yard line. And a late penalty here as O'Donnell and Marcus Ball are in the midst of it, and Corey Boyd gets Big O'Donnell out of there.
Well, let's let this all sort itself out, but while we're doing that,
Kavis Reed just threw his clipboard, so.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Edmonton number 64, 15-yard penalty, remains first down.
And the debate continues. O'Donnell in the middle of it, and Kavis Reed lost it when he saw that his rookie right tackle had been called after that terrific catch by Marcus Henry.
Just unbelievable, and it's going to come off the board because of a poor decision after the fact. And it's Matt O'Donnell, the rookie, up at the top. He's cruising around. We've seen a couple right down the late hits, and that on key. Kevin Huntley draws the flag.
Trouble, and Boyd drops that. Incomplete pass. Man, it's been a nightmarish return to Toronto for Corey Boyd.
Well, again, unless Hugh Charles is nicked. And he has not been talking to any trainers on the bench. In fact, got his helmet on now on the sideline.
His helmet back on, you're right.
And I'm just a little surprised. It's desperation time for this Edmonton offense, and their biggest playmaker of this game has been Hugh Charles.
2nd and 25. Joseph rushed and tripped up, and Ricky Foley will finish him off.
Marcus Ball got that first. Foley cleaned it up.
So a costly penalty against O'Donnell. The Eskimos backed up after that.
Corey Boyd had to try and pick up 2 that were coming off the edge, one being number 6, Marcus Ball. He's going to come quick. He takes the inside one. Foley cuts him down. Ball gets the trip up right there, and then Ricky Foley cleans him up to get the sack.
Grand shot. Gets a block from Matt Black. And then gets taken down at the 20. 51-yard boot by Shaw. CFL on TSN is brought to you by GMC Sierra. We are professional grade. Eskimos outscored the Argos in the first and third quarters. It's that record-breaking 31-point second quarter by Toronto that has them in control of this Eastern semifinal with just over 12 minutes to go.
And this is where Chad Cackert becomes that much more important, grinding it up this fourth quarter.
There he is on cue. Gets stacked up at the 25 and pushed back. This time we want to extend our condolences to the family of Tom McKee. Tom, a tremendous broadcaster in the 60s and 70s who took part in many Grey Cup telecasts. Passed away this past week. Russ Jackson spoke at his funeral. Again, Tom, a terrific broadcaster and producer in our business. And our thoughts go out to the McKee family.
3-3.
Second down for the Argos. Back to Cackert, and Cackert to the 30. It'll be close to that first down.
Huge passing grade so far in this game for the offensive line for the Toronto Argonauts. I mean, this is a team that hasn't had a whole lot of praise when you talk about their O-line. That's had some changes up front. They lose their left guard, Wayne Smith. And a lot of people thought that what was an offensive line that was trying to kind of find its way all season would be hit hard by that injury. But they knew they have enough weapons that if they can keep Ray on his feet, open up some holes for Chad Cackert, that they could put some points on the board, which they have done. And most importantly, Ted Laurent and Armando Sewell have combined for 12 sacks in the interior of that Edmonton defensive line in the regular season. And the interior of that O-line, have we talked much about them? We haven't seen them much in the backfield, and that is saying so, because the O-line for the Argos said those guys are a load.
Third and inches, Darius Jackson in, and he'll plunge. Simone Lawrence came over the top, but Jackson didn't need much, and looks like he got it. And again today, J.C. Sherritt not able to go. And you wonder, wow, how big that is in the great scheme of things for the Eskimos.
And there will be the case study. There will be the example used from now in the future. And I'm not suggesting that it was a bad decision or second-guessing Kavis Reed allowing him to play in the game that didn't matter in the standings to get the tackle record and the play that aggravated his ankle. But you can bet that in the future, coaches that are going to rest players will cite this case and say J.C. Sherritt couldn't play in the playoffs because he played in the game that didn't matter in the standings.
Lifted Cackert, there's Andre Dury, and he is able to fall forward close to another first down. Andre Dury missed 4 games this year, still finished third among Canadian receivers, and had he stayed healthy the whole season, he might have been the Eastern nominee as top Canadian. Terrific year for Andre Dury.
And just the sky's the limit for him. You know, and in fairness to Kavis Reed and the decision for J.C. Sherritt, just to finish up that thought, Chris, was, you know, Scott Milenovich made a similar decision with Chad Owens and allowing him to play in the final game so that he could get that record for combined yards. So, you know, I understand how important it is in the league history and the tackle record for Sherritt. They're working on Owens right now on the bench.
Short yardage, Jackson. Second down plunge. The Argos are going to try and grind down the clock here. And suddenly that short yardage team more efficient than it was early. Fumble the first time they tried it.
Scott Milenovich will just keep pounding it in, and allowing his his offensive line to lean on that front hand and now just start to drive off the ball. And this is their payday. This is their payback. Chris Schultz will tell you, when you get in this is the part of a game they love. They got a nice lead. They can lean on the front hand. They can fire off the football and go out there and try and open some holes.
Kaepernick going to line up as a wideout, and Andre Drury will carry the ball. The former York running back. That's another dimension he can give you. Tackled by Don Oramasian.
Now the Edmonton Eskimos defensively, with their season disappearing here, have got to start tackling the football, ripping it out, the second guy in, try and create a turnover. Desperation time.
Team that led the league in that department this year with 49. 49 takeaways, 27 interceptions. And a little throw underneath the Chad Kaepernick. Another first down and more. Logan Brown flipping the ball. Finally, Baldwin Alexander brings him up. And Kaepernick wants a flag, none on the field.
The design of this offensive play is absolutely perfect, and it's just almost impossible to defend. And this is the type of system that we've talked about all year from Scott Milenovich, as Kaepernick is going to be in the middle here. He is going to be the screen guy here, but watch the options as he runs this play. Look, Drury's out here. They've got to defend that. Dump it in the middle to Kaepernick. Receivers down the field. It's just spread the entire field out, and the defense is almost impossible to defend.
28 for Kaepernick. Back in his hands again. Left side and down to the 32. When Corey Boyd was released by the Argos, he was the leading rusher in the league, and there was an outcry from fans in Toronto. How could you get rid of Corey Boyd? And Chad Kaepernick has answered that question today, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. And it'll be interesting to see what the future holds for Corey Boyd after this season. Struggled here this afternoon.
Kaepernick with 116 yards from scrimmage on the day.
1 and
second and 8. He'll get stuffed short of the 30. It'll be third down. A reminder, the 100th Grey Cup playoffs continue immediately following this game, the Western Semi between the Rough Riders and Stampeders. Rod Black, Dwayne Ford follows as this game ends on TSN and TSN Radio.
I'll tell you, this field goal team will come out here for the Argos on third down. But another 5-minute drive, mission accomplished, pounding the ball to Chad Kaepernick, little Andre Drury, moving the line of scrimmage. The time clock now is all that matters for Toronto. They just got to run out the next 6 minutes. Another long drive, mission accomplished.
Waters missed his last, trying to recalibrate here from 38 out. This one nailed. And it's 35-10 Argos with just under 6 minutes to go. 9:52 left on the clock in this Eastern semifinal. The Eskimos have beaten the Argos in 5 consecutive games, 8 out of the last 10 meetings. And the Argos had not won at home against Edmonton since 2008 when Kerry Joseph was the quarterback and drove them for the winning touchdown in the last minute of that game. Different story here today. So far, Kerry has a catch up beyond the 50-yard line. Tackled by Evan McCullough.
Such a tough season for this Edmonton team, and only one team in CFL history has gone through a 3-game losing streak to end the regular season and won the championship. That Winnipeg in 1988. So they had that hill to climb. Also, that no crossover team has ever got to the Grey Cup. They had that hill to climb.
Joseph under pressure again, and he just gets rid of it to avoid the sack. Matt O'Donnell, the right tackle, out of the game after 3 penalties here tonight or this afternoon. Dylan Steenbergen now in at right tackle on that offensive line.
Be a tough lesson to learn for Matt O'Donnell. You know, he does have a bright future. But did not have a good game because of a couple of the decisions he made that took plays off the board. Although after that second quarter, this team's been in a major hole.
Second and 10, Joseph guns it and has a completion and a first down. And again, McCullough on the scene defensively. The catch made by Marcus Henry. Edmonton 7-11 after an 11-7 season last year. 6 losses by 3 points or fewer.
Well, that Labor Day series alone really turned their season. Missed field goals, the difference in both of them.
On the final play of the game.
Yep.
Joseph gets away and takes off. We expected to see what a big hit at the end of that. Robert McCune unloads, and that'll draw 15 more.
You know,
unnecessary roughness. Corner number 45. 15 yards at the end of the play. First down.
I think Robert McCune at the end of this play realizes where he is on the field a split second and then tries to hold Kerry Joseph up. I mean, you know, yes, it's a penalty, no question. He's on the stripe and he's letting up as he's going out of bounds, and there was some helmet contact there, but you could tell by his body language he saw where he was as he was making contact that he was already out of bounds and tried to hold him.
Well, the Eskimos down at the 15. Quarterback draw. Kerry Joseph waits for a block and scores. Touchdown. Well, there's a signature play from the veteran Edmonton quarterback, Kerry Joseph.
Continues to battle. He's done his thing this year in what's been a tough season for Edmonton. Again, put it on Kerry Joseph. 39 years old. And he continues to still battle, even though way in a deep hole here on the scoreboard.
So a 19-point deficit. And the offense stays on the field looking for 2. Trying to get it down to 17 points. I was going to mention earlier, we expected, Kerry kind of foreshadowed it in a discussion with it yesterday. We expected to see him run the ball more in this game than we have seen. Over 100 yards in the Grey Cup game in 07 and in a playoff game in 07. Looking for 2 here, open man, and they got it. Fred Stamps has 2 more. 17-point Argo lead. Hands team on for the Eskimos. Trying to get the ball right back as Shaw puts it up for grabs. And Mike Bradwell brings it down.
What a catch. Courageous catch. Up there. Hasn't had one on offense, but he went up, climbed the ladder. He knew that it's just shrapnel flying everywhere on plays like this, because the front line for the Argos try to knock out the front line coming down the field for the Eskimos, who are just trying to distract the receiver in Bradwell, and he goes right through that mix, comes up and catches it at its high point. Textbook.
Mike O'Shea in charge of special teams. The guy who was originally drafted by the Eskimos, if there weren't enough connections. Second effort brings him back behind the line of scrimmage. Marcus Howard takes him down.
Timing was a little off there. Maurice Mann on that play tried to come across. He's been smacking his hands together the whole time. What a game he's had. Stepping up.
Exactly 3 minutes to go. Benches have been notified. We'll be right back for the conclusion. Our game story brought to you by Mr. Lube. Get talked about maintenance and take good care.
Record-breaking second quarter for the Argo offense with 31 points, which is a CFL record in the playoffs. And they really haven't looked back. Little spark provided by Matt Nichols, and of course we hope the best for him. He was injured, had to leave the game. And a big Chad Owens return for a touchdown. Didn't have a return touchdown on the regular season despite all the yards, and that was a real momentum grabber as well.
Second and 14 for the Argonauts. They swing it up. Andre Dury's got it. And Dury turns the corner, lowers his shoulder, and he's close to a first down.
Argos will try and use the full 20 seconds once the ball is whistled in. And they're actually going to get a measurement here. Take a look at it. Bring the chains in.
Both teams coming into this game hoping it wouldn't be their last game at Rogers Center this year.
Well, it'll go down in history, Chris, and it's been talked about all year. But it'll go down in history as one of, if not the most controversial trade in the CFL ever. When Ricky Ray, in mid-December, became a Toronto Argonaut. And the Edmonton Eskimos, throughout the entire season, have rotated at quarterback, haven't found an answer there. Stephen Giles started the year relieved by Kerry Joseph. Matt Nichols showed that he may be the future, and we hope for a speedy recovery from his injury sustained in this game. But Ricky Ray's got 4 or 5 more good years in him, and I talked to him about this yesterday. Said he feels good. Loves this offense.
And although the numbers aren't as big as they were in the last 2 regular season starts for Ray, just seems like he's more and more comfortable in this offense with every game experience. There's Jackson plunging for another first down, but it will be one of the most tumultuous seasons in Eskimo history, starting with that trade, and last week the firing of general manager Eric Tillman. You had Kivas Reed take over as the offensive coordinator halfway through the year. Corey Boyd was added to the roster, then deleted, brought back. A lot of things have happened.
Tough season. Just so much controversy swirling around this team, mostly off the field, but certainly football operation decisions, and tough to bounce back from.
Jarius Jackson will stay in. He's going to finish up here with just over 2 minutes to go. And Chira Puali at fullback, and he's the lead blocker for Captain. Left side, turns the corner, and it's a touchdown. We're going to Montreal. And they put an exclamation point on that. Same play Cackett ran for a touchdown against Edmonton back in August.
Check out the acceleration and speed. Outruns the angle. TJ Hill was in perfect position, and he just bounces that. And that sprint to the end zone seals the deal.
15 carries, 88 yards for Chad Cackett. Waters the extra point. And the Argos, who had 43 last week, had 42 on the board in the playoff game.
The unsung heroes, or maybe just flat out the heroes for the Toronto Argonauts, have been their offensive line. And I would show you Mark Parento come out of here from the guard spot on this pull. Watch him get out in front of Chad Cackett, 57 right here. And look at him open up an opportunity. So it's a one-on-one on the linebacker. Chad Cackett makes TJ Hill miss. That's a big block by a pulling guard. They have done their job up front here in this game against a very dominant. Have we even mentioned Marcus Howard's name in this game this afternoon? Ted Laurent, Sewell, Brandon Lang. This has been a dominant D-line, and that O-line shut them down in this game.
And that was concern number 1 for the Argos coming in. Jeff Keeping and company have answered that question.
That's all after all.
So he's not hurt. If he can play on the teams, he's not hurt. That's been a real puzzling one for me.
Sure has. downfield. Weldon Brown inside his 5. And Ricky Foley at Chamboulet will wrestle him down at the 30-yard line. Minute 53 on the clock. Kerry Joseph, at the age of 39, you wonder how many more times we'll see him. Told me yesterday he was inspired by Damon Allen, who played till 43. Thinks he's in good enough shape to keep playing into his 40s.
He's a great team player, you know, a great guy in the room, a guy that can almost be another coach for maybe a young Matt Nichols next year, who really looks like he could be the future for this team at that position. Did some great things at the end of the season. We hope for a speedy recovery for him. I don't think this is the real question. What is the future for Stephen Giles? Not sure there at all. But one of the most puzzling decisions in this game for me have been the decision by Kavis Reed to play Corey Boyd, who clearly was not having his best game, not close, and taking Hugh Charles out of the offense as much as he did in this game this afternoon.
Charles kick-started the offense, a 47-yard run in the first quarter on the opening drive touchdown by the Eskimos. And a fumble which turned the game on the final play of that opening quarter. There's a catch for Shamad Chambers, one of the bright spots in his rookie season for Edmonton.
I'll tell you what, for this Toronto team too, Chris, I've been so impressed with Scott Milanovic in his first year as a head coach, is how he has stepped up and made some very, very difficult decisions early in the year that are paying off the back end.
Joseph, that's off the fingertips of Stamps, who gets drilled and almost picked off by Pat Watkins.
Think about what he's done, and you can see the frustration now for Fred Stamps. I don't blame him, but Scott Milanovic, when he had to make that decision, he gets his quarterback, and he knows the focus of this offense moving forward will be that man right there, who's put up another big game and a rushing touchdown.
76.6% efficient.
So he starts the season with that. He's got a young defense, especially in the back end, 4 of the 5 in their first games to start the season in the CFL. He's okay with that because he's got a great coordinator in Chris Jones.
Third down, pass batted down. And it's a turnover on downs. Matt Black with the defensive play.
So then, when Scott Milanovic is putting this team together, he has to have patience with a young defense that's getting some penalty trouble early. Chris Jones is one of the best coordinators in the game. He gives him the reins and lets him do his thing. This defense has come into its own in the back half of the season. Then when you look at the controversial decision that you mentioned earlier in releasing Corey Boyd, when he was leading the league in rushing, Scott Milanovic made that decision because Jack Packard fit this offense better. So he cuts the leading rusher, takes some heat in the media because of it, but a coaching decision that he knew in the long run would be better for his offense.
Argos in victory formation.
That's why he has a contract extension, and the Argos are in good hands moving forward. What a job he has done in his first year as a head coach.
So it'll be a rematch of the 2010 Eastern Final. Montreal won big on that day. And this is a different Argo group. That'll be interesting for Scott Milanovic to go back to Montreal to play in the playoffs against his old team. Jim Barker, of course, roots in Montreal as well. As they continue to run it down here. Alouettes won that season series 2 games to 1. The tiebreaker, Ricky Ray went out early in that game.
The game that they did win, though, the Argos, was in Montreal.
Next up will be Olympic Stadium.
And, of course, following our game, don't go anywhere. More football coming up in that West semifinal in Calgary. Saskatchewan Roughriders. Calgary Stampeders.
They'll turn it over and let the the Edmonton offense come on to the field for one last possession.
But Chris, your quarterback gives you hope. There's a little bit from Kerry Joseph as a veteran. So he could grab some of that 2007 magic. But for the Toronto Argonauts, this team has had hope all year despite some early struggles because they've had this guy behind center.
Now Ricky Ray has waited a long time this season to get that first win against Edmonton, but it comes at the best of times.
And get on the Toronto crowd. They're trying to work their way out now, but it was a good one and they were loud.
Kerry Joseph looking to go deep, but now underneath the Corey Boyd, and he'll take off, and Boyd is knocked out inside the 40-yard line. Says his game's more suited to the CFL than the NFL. Who will Corey Boyd be with next year? That'll be an interesting story to follow.
Who will be the GM in Edmonton next year?
An even more interesting story to follow.
He's got to make those personnel decisions.
There's one of the candidates. Up to go for Joseph to Cohorn, who's got it. Touchdown, Nate Cohorn. 38-yard strike from Joseph to Cohorn, but the celebration is on the Argos sidelines.
That caught the rookie head coach off guard. Not a rookie anymore. He's got a whole season and a great one. And the O-line leading the charge there with the ice-cold water bucket.
Former Dino with the touchdown catch.
Look better in the box score at the end of the game.
Math is right. The Eskimos won 3 of the 4 quarters.
So that 31-0 second.
And a 2-point convert for Kerry Koch. 42-26, 23 seconds to go, and although it seems academic, does Kavis Reed extend the day with the short yardage team again, or the hands team on the short kick. $23 seconds to go, then we'll go straight out to McMahon Stadium for the West Semi, and the right to play the BC Lions in the Western Final, the Rough Riders and the host Stampeders. Locking horns once again.
I mentioned the crowd has started to make their way out with this game sealed, but it was a great crowd here in Toronto. I'm not sure what the final number, but it's not about who wasn't here, and I hope the stories aren't about that. It's about who was, and the ones who were loud. Chad Owens at halftime talked about how they were feeding off the momentum. It was great atmosphere. I know that's talked about quite a lot here in Toronto, but it was a great crowd here this afternoon. Did a good job of pushing their football team and helping them out seal this deal.
Shaw again to put it up for grabs. Bradwell there to bring it down, and he gets punished, but holds on to the football. Kai Stewart unloaded on Mike Bradwell, and give Bradwell credit.
Yeah, I'm not sure he even saw it because he looked like he relaxed a little bit thinking he was going to be fine coming down, and then took the hit, but look at him react quickly to make sure he seals the deal and then just gather himself.
They'll take a knee or two more to finish this off. And the fans, one more salute behind the Argo bench.
Toronto teams won a playoff game.
And that are words that haven't been spoken around here in some time. One more snap from Keeping to Jackson.
Boy, and it sets up a great Eastern final. And this Toronto team with their offensive weapons, a coach that knows Mark Trestman very well, and vice versa.
There's Chris Jones, two of the architects of a team that's on its way up. Jarius Jackson letting it run out here. And the Toronto Argonauts are on to Montreal for the Eastern Final against the Alouettes.
Congratulations to Scott Milanovic. First playoff game, he gets the victory. I can't wait for that. He's fun.
Well, they rode the strength of 31 second quarter points, a playoff record in the CFL. First win for Ricky Ray over his old team. First kick return touchdown for Chad Owens. And it's a convincing 42-26 victory for the Argonauts. So long from Rogers Center. Let's join Dave Randor.
Thank you, Chris. That is the story from Toronto. We are getting set to take you to Calgary, the bottom of the clock, where Drew Tate is warming up for his second career playoff start.